Hi everyone, welcome again to Indian Story Read Along. Today's story is called The Greedy Mother-in-Law. It's from the Amachitra Katha book, More Tales from the Panchatantra. And if you know anything about Panchatantra, it's a collection of stories from way back when there were kings and queens and no government and nobody was elected, no prime ministers or presidents or anything. And all of these stories had some kind of a moral or a lesson at the very end of them. A lot of them, like this one, are a little bit violent. But I think that it was kind of the normal thing back then to have children be exposed to things that are dangerous and things that are a little bit violent in order to teach them a lesson. It's not really how we do things nowadays, but these are really old stories. So let's get started. The Greedy Mother-in-Law. So you see a lady who is sitting there, an older lady sitting on a cot, and then a younger lady washing a bunch of dishes by the well. And that's how they did it even in my grandfather's time. There was a well or some kind of outside water area, and there was no plumbing indoors, remember. So they had to do all their dishes, bathing, everything having to do with water was outside. So the older lady says, "Hey, Saumitri, clean them well, huh?" And then you can see the tired look on that younger lady's face. She's like, "Yes, mother." Kumati, the older lady, the wife of the head man of Salagram village, was a tyrant. That means she was a bully. She derived special pleasure in tormenting her simple daughter-in-law, Saumitri. Saumitri slogged. That means she worked tirelessly from morning till night and yet could never please her mother-in-law. And then she's criticizing her even as she's doing all the work. Kumati says, "Come on, slowpoke, work faster." And then later she says to her, "I am going to the temple. Keep the food ready. I will eat immediately on my return." And then Saumitri says, "All right, mother. Back then there was no women going to work, and they didn't even teach them how to read or write. Only priests knew how to read and write. So then they had no choice. This was what they had to do in their life. They had to get married, and if they got a nice family that they married into, that was great. But a lot of people did not get lucky like that. They got mother-in-laws like Kumati." And then Kumati yells at her again and says, "And don't waste any food." And Saumitri is like, "Yes, mother." Saumitri immediately began to cook. And then she says, she's thinking to herself, "I never remain idle. That means I'm never sitting down. I never get a break." Still, she finds fault with everything I do. When the food was ready, knock, knock, knock. And Saumitri's thinking, she's back so soon. I must open the door immediately, otherwise... she's going to get it. She opened the door and saw not her mother-in-law, but a sadhu. That means a sage. So back then what would happen is some people, some men especially, they would decide that they're not going to have a family. They're going to spend their life in meditation and reflection, and they wouldn't have anything to their name. No house, no food, no nothing. So they went around and relied on the kindness of strangers to feed them. And this man is one such person. He's like a sage or a hermit. They call him a sadhu. And then so he says, "May God bless you, my child. Will you feed a hungry sadhu?" And back then it was considered a great honor to feed someone like this if they came to your door. So then she's thinking, I would like to, but she's thinking of her mother-in-law. "Don't waste any food." So now she's trying to figure out what she feels in her heart. She thinks feeding a sadhu is dharma, not wastage. Dharma means duty. Let me welcome him. I shall feed him my share. That means she was so willing to have him eat from her house that she was willing to not eat that day. So now she's confident and she welcomes him in. She says, "Come, please come in, sir." And then he says, "The food is delicious." And she says, "Then please have some more, sir." The sadhu was about to finish his meal when Kumati returned. Oh, she's going to be mad. "What is going on here? We are not running a free kitchen here. And then, understandably, Saumitri is horrified. She goes, "Mother!" And then she yells at the sadhu, and she goes, "Get out, you beggar!" The sadhu doesn't look like he's upset or anything because he has control over his feelings and emotions, and he understands. And then Saumitri's like, "Mother, don't!" Kumati says, "And didn't I tell you not to waste food?" Saumitri says, "I did not. I fed him my share." Kumati says, "You did not bring your share from your father's house." And then Saumitri says, "No sadhu goes away hungry from my father's door." This is the closest that she's ever gotten, remember, to talking back to her mother-in-law. And then look what Kumati does. "Then go to your father's house and run a free kitchen." She literally throws her out, slams the door, and Saumitri's out there banging on the door, "Mother, mother!" And so she has nowhere to go. You might be thinking, as I was as a child, where is her husband in all of this? Where is Kumati's son? Back then, it wasn't like you fell in love and you got married, or you even liked the person, or you even cared about the person. They just got married because that was the thing to do to carry on the family line. Like, you had children, and that's just what you did. And so the guy, the husband in all of this, probably would not care one way or another. And daughter-in-laws were often treated like maids and actually like slaves. They were not paid anything. They were not allowed to have their own money. They weren't allowed to have anything. Everything they brought from their father's house, their parents' house, like jewelry or clothes or something, the mother-in-law or the father-in-law or the husband's family would keep it in a locker, and she would not have access to it anymore. And all she could do every day is work, the way Saumitri is right now. So she had no choice. Now she had to leave, and she didn't have another home except for her parents' home. Having been thrown out, Saumitri had no choice. She's thinking, "I must go to my father." But it's a long journey. Remember, she could only walk. The path to her father's village passed through a dense forest. Suddenly, crack! Thunder and lightning. It is raining heavily. And then, what does Saumitri do? She sees she's under a tree, and it's keeping off some of the rain, but then the rain was so heavy that the shelter provided by the tree became ineffective. And then she's thinking, "I will take shelter in that hollow." So she climbs up, she gets in there. I'd be afraid there's a family of raccoons or something in there. But she, it's desperate times. So she gets in there, doesn't look in there. All right. Now, the tree, I bet you didn't see this coming. The tree was the home of two Rakshasis. A Rakshasi is a demoness. So look at their fangs and their huge crooked noses and huge ears and their claws. And they can fly, as demonesses can. So then one of them says, "This blasted rain." And the other one says, "I'm sick of getting wet." And the one goes, "This rain is not going to stop. Let us go to Suvarnadvip." The other one says, "I'm too tired to fly." The first one says, "You just relax. I'll make the tree fly us there." This is before American Airlines. So they just pick up the tree, fly away. Suddenly, the tree started flying. Saumitri was jolted out of her slumber. She'd fallen asleep in the hollow. And then she's thinking, "Oh God, Rakshasis, what shall I do now?" So it wasn't like she was thinking, "Oh my God, what are those?" Back then, they were kind of familiar with demons just kind of being all over the place. So then they didn't want to run into one. And so, but then luckily it doesn't seem like they noticed her. They're up there in the branches, and then the demonesses say, "This is fun, whee!" Soon, here we are in Suvarnadvip. Dvip is like, it means like an area, a land. So that's a common word. There's other kinds of dvips, as you'll see afterwards in the story. So one Rakshasi says to the other, "The journey has made me hungry." So they get up and they fly away. "Let us catch some prey." Saumitri heaved a sigh of relief. Thank God they are gone. And then, I will step out and stretch my limbs. When Saumitri stepped out on the beach, the sand glitters. It looks like What do you guys think it is? If you know any Sanskrit, you might know what Suvarna means. Oh, it is sand of gold. Look at that. It means it's gold, but it's in the form of sand. Suvarna means gold. It's actually a type of old gold. I have got enough gold to last us for 2 generations, she's thinking. No one ever has to work again. And even though her mother-in-law kicked her out, she's thinking, oh, I'm going to please her. But soon, so she's smart. She gets her gold, she gets back in there, she tucks it into her sari, and she's not going to let them see her again. Soon, the demoness returned. That was a good beast. Yes, now let us go back to Salagram. At daybreak, the tree landed in the jungle near Salagram. And one of them goes, I'm hungry again. And the other one's like, let's go out to hunt. So then, when the coast was clear, Saumitri started for her home. Mother-in-law will be happy to receive all this gold. The moment Saumitri reached home, she goes, Mother, look what I brought. After Saumitri narrated her story, look at what Kumati says. You brought so little gold. People like that are never, ever, ever going to be happy with anything or anyone, and they're always going to think they know better. There's no point pleasing them. That's another lesson in the story. And Saumitri's arguing, it's enough to last us a lifetime. Kumati says, gold is never enough. And then Saumitri says, I couldn't carry anymore. And then Kumati says, I will. I shall go to the Suvarna Dweep with the Rakshasis. And then Saumitri knows it is dangerous and she was lucky to get out alive. And she says, please don't, Mother. The Rakshasis are very dangerous. They eat human flesh. So look how greedy she is. She's got 2 huge potato sacks there in that last panel. And let's see what she does now. And then she's mean too. She goes, if a stupid girl like you could escape, they will never find me. Again, she thinks she knows better. Soon, Kumati was hiding in the same tamarind tree. If you know anything about India, they always say tamarind trees are haunted. Ghosts and Rakshasis and all kinds of things hang out in tamarind trees for some reason. No other tree. So then Kumati's thinking now to wait for the tree to fly. At night, the Rakshasis returned to their tree and they flew on it. They're going somewhere else now. I want to eat sea fish tonight. And then the other one says, then let us go to Kadaldweep. It's not the same place. There's not going to be gold there. Now what? Kumati is thinking, they are going to Kadaldweep and not Suvarnadweep. Can you believe this? How arrogant she is? She's like, hey, you must go to Suvarnadweep. Like, who does that? And the Rakshasis are like, who is that? They found her, but it's not like they found her. She made herself known. And then one of them says, it must be a thief. She wants to steal gold from our island. And then they shake the tree. They get up. They shake everything. And they're just trying to get her to fall. And then she goes, no, no. Her bags are flying away. The Rakshasis are super happy and having fun with this. And then here's the scary part next. Kumati has to let go. She falls and then she dies from the fall, and that's the end. So they don't have a moral at the end of the story. Usually they print it down here somewhere. But I think the moral is, number 1, don't be greedy. Number 2, don't try to please people who can't be pleased. Number 3, don't mess with Rakshasis. Number 4, keep quiet at certain times, like that's a good one. So if you guys have any kind of requests, and if I have the book, I'll read it for you. So let me know. Email us at indianstoryreadalong@gmail.com. And if you like the story, then think about subscribing to this channel too. All right, we'll see you next time.